Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of December the 19th, 2022. We have a really important week ahead of us, not just because it's Christmas, but also really important key moves are happening astrologically. So this begins not just a new cycle of the next 3 months, the winter solstice, the Capricorn solstice better said, because in the other hemisphere it's actually the summer. And besides this, Jupiter leaves Pisces and enters into the sign of Aries for good in the next 12 years, of course. This also changes the energy very, very significantly in so very many ways. So yes, this week is definitely going to be interesting, both, personally, because this does change our attitude a lot. Perhaps not necessarily change, but switch to a different gear. Perhaps this is the best expression of this energy. So things will intensify within us, especially. And we must not forget that Jupiter is on his shadow path, so perhaps certain things that either we ourselves or life for us initiated in the spring, later spring, May this year, in the summer, well, those might be, returning in our lives to find completion, or it is us who need to push something, so even someone ourselves in a certain direction, better said. Because let's not forget that Aries represents the head, it represents our sense of direction, and also the breath of the first breath, I wanted to say. So the breath of creation, everything that is fresh and new, that is also very linked to Aries. So Jupiter at 0 degrees of that sign, even if it's a shadow path, it will be quite significant, and it will also reverberate. But before Jupiter enters the sign of Aries, because ultimately this is one of the bigger energy shifts, it hangs out still at the beginning of the week at 29 degrees of Pisces, an anaretic degree. So yes, that is karmically, emotionally, psychologically, in very many ways, very, very, how should I say, impacting, because it wraps up something big, something significant. Pisces, the past, something within us, a trauma, a feeling, family issues, even our worldview in a sense, because Jupiter does represent that, and Saturn, of course, much later on in 2023 is gonna follow Jupiter's path. So Jupiter, and not just Jupiter, because Neptune, both Jupiter and Neptune, the two ruling planets of the sign, Pisces, are in here still at the beginning of the week. And in a way, this is the final wrap-up, because Jupiter will leave. But neither Neptune or Jupiter can't really do all that much without Saturn. So perhaps whatever we feel intensely, whatever we experience deeply spiritually, deeply karmically, deeply psychologically right now, will be truly not just lived, but we will look back at its completion when Saturn reaches this part of the sky. So in 2024, 2025, I imagine. That is when we're going to be looking back. So that means it's already lived, it's already kind of done, and Saturn, let's say, it already put some foundations or demolished other foundations for the long-term future. So yeah, we'll be looking back at what happened, how we felt, how our lives were, and it will be a big reflection. Anyway, that's in the years to come, so it doesn't matter immediately all that much. But the Sun being also in anaretic Sagittarius, holding a square to Jupiter, and Sagittarius being the other sign of Jupiter. In modern astrology, it is his sign, really, because Neptune was avoided Jupiter's other sign of Pisces. Anyway, so this is very, very Jupiterian, because the sun ultimately is the light of our consciousness, or the light of truth, and truth in Sagittarius and with Jupiter has to be subjective. This is where even existence itself is an illusion, so it's absolutely okay to be subjective. But anyway, the square, so we are gonna be feeling this. We're gonna be truly wanting to live our aspirations, our principles, our, higher understanding of life, the world, and our place in it, better said. And also, Sagittarius with Jupiter, what justice, divine justice, earthly justice, a certain justice in a situation, in life, in your past, in destiny, or whatever, means to you personally. So this will reactivate in a way karmic justice. So either something will be the sun revealed, and Jupiter, what do you do with it? How do you value that? How do you integrate that into your lived experience, whatever that sense of justice will mean? But anyway, where I'm going with this is the final wrap up of the deeper past of family issues and deeply psychological. If there is like one big thing that we really, really need to become aware about ourselves, and the thing is, it doesn't matter how mature you are, how evolved you are, how anything you are, because life is life for everyone. So many things, sometimes the obvious is just under our nose and we don't see it in a lifetime. And we can be anyone. So, this is the, how should I say, the coloring of life. So no one's exception to this. So under this energy, those things become evident. Or you learn about yourself. You understand about yourself. You understand the past. You get that final wrap up of Jupiter, really. That sense of deep, deep outlook on life. And basically when this week, all of us are a bit philosophers, like it or not, want it or not, specific to you or not, it's gonna be philosophical. And the square, what do you do with it? Anything in life can give you wings. Sun in Sagittarius. But also, it can drown you. Jupiter in Neptune, the aneretic. So the bottom of the ocean. Let's go even further. Bottom of the abyss. Or the highest heavens and the throne of God. And we're caught in between. That's exactly the square. Where do you position yourself in this game of balance, the cosmic balance? And even if you're a person who doesn't care about this, it's totally ignorant. As above, so below. So it also reflects in our personal lives. For example, the struggle between the individual and government. You get where I'm going with this. All of us are feeling this, living this one way or another. In your romantic relationship, in your finances. Somewhere it's still about justice and what life means to you and what truly motivates you to live and to exist. And, but this can also represent strong karmic manifestation in many of our lives, in many ways. Even because this energy is ultimately positive, and the Christmas cheer and Pisces, the Christ consciousness, and at Christmas, not because of the date and time and what's true and not what's not, what we want to believe collectively. That's why shouldn't be Christmas actually the best time for all of this. So that has a very strong support to be positive. But some of us are so very skilled at drowning ourselves spiritually that we can make it bad if we really want to. So I'm gonna be honest. If we want to live it as hell, we are definitely gonna get it. Because Jupiter aneretic, makes no excuses and doesn't have mercy in the sense that you're a victim and of course it has to be hard for you. Yeah, but what have you done spiritually or in your with your inner power to at least soothe it for your nothing? Well, here it is on a silver tray what you wished for. Genie in a bottle. But would you actually try to elevate yourself? Then Jupiter will look at that and okay, let me truly give you a shoulder. At least at Christmas, you know? This is silly what I'm saying. Maybe other astrologers will laugh at this, but reality is really, really constructed in such a way that what matters to us collectively, it has to matter to the stars in one way or another. And if we want to live the miracle on Christmas Day, well, the sky can actually time it. An energetic Jupiter can time it in such a way. Exactly, the illusion becomes real, if you know what I mean. And Jupiter in Pisces is so good at that, with the support of Neptune. But anyway, where I truly want to go with this is that the square between the Sun and Jupiter, as it opens the week, that can feel a little bit heavy, but as I said, if we use it the right way, motivation, faith, strength, not to allow something to catapult us onto the starry sky, but neither to drown us, either in illusion, hope, or whatever, to, use to be the masters of both hope and realism or whatever, us to be the masters of this. But as I said at the beginning of the week, this is more like a philosophical energy when you make this inner determination, and also life, karma, fate, whatever, Jupiter in energetic Pisces, greets you with a reflection of something. But then at the end of the week, both Jupiter and the Sun hold this square in two other signs. So Jupiter respectively in Aries and the Sun in Capricorn, autumn solstice, And this is so relevant because it's almost like, well, whatever happened in philosophy just a few days ago, you're making it real. Because Aries, you're fighting for it, you're definitely moving forward, and Capricorn, real, finding a way to make it happen. But still a square. The downside of this energy. My way or the highway, not under this sky. Your way, but you adapt, Your way, your will, but you adapt to it. The other bad thing that you can do is to drop morality, to want to compromise way too much just to get where you need to be. The Aries, the goal, the bullseye, the journey doesn't matter as much, but you are responsible to make it matter. You know what I mean? Don't haste, don't overdo, don't quantum leap this time, because this energy, if you use the wisdom that the journey matters, and I need to also enjoy the journey, and sometimes we don't choose easy setting, we choose hard setting on purpose, because we honor ourselves by this. But that's your job, to bring this wisdom to the table. The sky will not help you with the wisdom. It will help you with the opportunity or the inner strength, the inner to push it, to, the ram, to do it. But if you add to that your wisdom that the journey matters, patience, and on heart setting, to respect the veteran within you, it's all good. But of course, the square can also be lived in a different way. If you are all your life the veteran who always plays it on hard, Capricorn, the initiation of this, making it easy once, going against your standard setting, well, imagine it will propulse you so far that you can take a good siesta afterward. Why not honor yourself? So depending on your personality type, that's how you need to use this energy and make the square work for you. Because you are very motivated by the end of the week. As I said, this energy, both the Sun and Jupiter together, become real, concrete. You're doing it, you're living it. Even if it's like something not susceptible to concrete, like 12th house, or I don't know, 5th house, all that much, well, you are still gonna make your life in a certain way because of this inner motivation that you feel. Now let's put this beside. Venus comes with her own way of support. And this is where, as I said, either going way too far into the sky or sinking into the bottom of the ocean. Well, Venus brings like a good anchor, the middle path, so to speak, because at the beginning of the week she holds the trine to the North Node in her sign, Taurus. She comes, and she is, of course, in Capricorn. So she comes with support, she comes with, you know, Venus in Capricorn is not her romantic self. She is her realism self. Let me just make a comparison. Like the love of a mom. It's sweet, really, let's admit it. It's sweet and gentle and care. That's like Venus in Cancer. Venus in Capricorn, the love of a dad. Like sometimes a good beating is actually what someone needs from the dad. But for real, it resets the brain, it resets the hormones in the brain, and it does cure depression, vanity, arrogance. It cures a lot of things. But by this I don't want to mean the violence and stuff, but the real love, not just say you love, do it. The fatherly kind of love. So if Venus brings that to the table, which means support, it can mean money, someone actually going there with you, physically helping you achieve this and that, their time, their, sometimes yes, words, but that's their time. When they bring the words, as in, do it, do it, do it, I'm supporting you, don't give up, etc., etc., that's already Capricornian Venus. So Venus brings something to the table. And the North Node, well, you use that. Even if it's like motivation, love, appreciation, physical pleasure. But you can imagine that physical pleasure sometimes gives you the kind of serotonin where you do a very good job in other area of life and you achieve. So whatever this Venus has to offer, use it as a resource to move forward, to support the transiting North Node in Taurus, value, long-term value. But of course, shortly after, Venus trines Uranus, also in her sign. So Uranus is pleasant surprise. Uranus is the breakthrough. Uranus is, wow, it worked. Wow, well, I'm actually worthy. I'm pleasantly surprised, so to speak. So that can also be really, really good energy. And you can imagine Christmas time, generosity and all of that. Now it shouldn't be part of astrology in that sense, but like collectively, if everyone kind of feeds into the spirit of generosity, well, of course the spirit of generosity will be very, very dominant. And this Venus doesn't even care if it's fake or real. Generosity is still generosity. But as delightful as this is, there is also a bit of toxicity in the sky, because Pluto opposes Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, so it's like bitter or sour, and we are a bit bitchy of ourselves. And how should I say? There are periods of time, a short period, let's say a few days, a few weeks, when even strong, disciplined, moral, strongly moral, masculine males are a bit like a bitchy person, very atypical to them. And so that means that collectively, the atmosphere can be a tiny bit toxic. Now, of course, this toxicity, fakeness, the show, the false, the truth, it will, certain things this Christmas publicly, let's say, are gonna be so false that we can't even behold them because we either laugh, vomit, or judge. But this is where, when someone or something, or when a show, or when a politician, when a public person, or public arrangement is so pathetic that, like, it just asks for judgment, well, the opposition. But personally, in family dynamics, well, some family gatherings are gonna be dual. Because this Venus is gonna bring the pleasure, the delight, the gratitude, and Jupiter, before Christmas, so before Christmas, is gonna bring a lot of good intent to the table. A lot of good intent. So everyone before Christmas is gonna be quite, let's say, angelic and full of good intent. But then before Christmas, there's Capricorn solstice, there's Jupiter changing signs, and there's Black Moon Lilith opposing Pluto, and there's Venus trine Uranus. So what surprises are gonna be exposed at family meetings? This is where, like, let me give you a ridiculous example. The holiday cheer. And so Jupiter probably stirred up something deeply appreciative in the family. Like a miracle happened. And there's family gathering. And, there is this true spiritual vibe and everyone appreciates everyone. And at the family gathering, someone randomly comes out of the closet. Because the trust is gonna be there at that moment. So you can imagine that it's gonna be shocking, and in a way secrets coming out and certain people's reaction. So it's gonna be different than it started. There are things that can really, really stir up the benevolence and make it very quickly, or go away, or take a small pause. So yeah, needless to say, that's the best case scenario, because Mars quincunx Venus. It can be humorous, it can be, well, I didn't expect this. And this can even add to the resolution that, yeah, this is part of the Christmas, yeah, it's good that it happened. But the best case scenario, it adds a humor to it. But the worst case scenario is where, old wounds come out. So, let's say there's a family meeting and the child says something which hurts one parent, but it's humorous, so the parent is not gonna express the hurt straight away. And it begins. You know what I'm saying. The tension, the toxicity begins there and then. So yeah, there's also this. But politically on the world stage, that's where it's gonna be. And also, then let's move on. Jupiter changing signs with the Sun. Also, because Jupiter changes signs on the 20th and the Sun on the 22nd. Now, that immediately activates justice energy. What happens? It's also pretty assertive. So, this can very, very quickly change dynamics on the world stage, politically, internationally, the war, justice, cry for justice. Also at that time, Mercury and Venus, actually at the end of the week, but still there. So Mercury is going to be at 23rd degrees of Capricorn and Venus at 20, something like that. So that means they sandwich together the fated 22 degrees of Capricorn, where in 2020 the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto took place, which started a big deconstruction of the old world order, ultimately causing the birth of the new. So we are going to be reminded of that, what that means to us personally, how our lives changed, our job-wise, schedule-wise, modus vivendi-wise, lifestyle-wise, friend-wise, social circle, customs, our own tradition, etc., etc. So we'll be reminded of all of these changes and what it means to us personally, but also administratively, financially, because you can imagine that the government everywhere are going to come with schemes and energy savings and austerity measures, but also favors. So opinions are going to be divided. Again, protests are going to start. Big collective dissatisfaction, cry out for justice, and in some parts of the world, perhaps the Arabian countries and stuff like that, well, there are going to be either revolutions or attempts to revolutions to overthrow something or someone, or big religious battles. Why? Well, you see, Jupiter likes religion a lot. And Aries, yeah, assertion and war. And the highest example, the highest possible expression of this energy is something like Joan d'Arc, when truly the divine fights through a being. Then the most unfavorable is acts of fanaticism. Yeah, so but let's hope that later on, not exactly right now. But another energy kind of is supportive to this, unfortunately, where the dwarf planet Ixion, a symbol of grave injustice, corruption at the highest level, immorality, even ruthlessness, tyranny at the highest level, confronts divine justice. So yeah, whatever it is, it's not gonna be pretty. But I should actually bring on the holiday cheer and not speak about not so nice things, so I do apologize about that. But certain things need to be said, because let's not say the sky did not prepare us. So, So anyway, the winter so Jupiter moves into Aries, yeah. It reactivates our biggest motivations, what they were this spring and summer, and our purposes and stuff like that. Also our dissatisfactions, frustrations, and hormonal energies. And yeah, justice. And yeah, let's do it. Almost like a divine empowerment of energy. We are hell-bent on achieving something. But then there comes the solstice, the Capricorn solstice. And, at the time of the solstice, the most predominant energy is going to be the square to Jupiter. So that will truly mark the solstice and the next 3 months. So the next 3 months collectively and some way even individually are definitely gonna be about, what justice and truth, inner truth, our own relation to life means to us personally, and everything that we need to achieve to have what we want and what happiness ultimately means to us personally. And then there also is going to be another energy, which was going to be predominant Venus square, trine Uranus. And this Venus trine Uranus to me says, whatever we have worked for in 2020, actually past couple of years, it doesn't matter in which way, in whatever we invested energy, value, awareness, and went out of our comfort zone, even if at that time it seemed to us, well, it didn't reward me, nothing really happened, I changed so much, but my material life, physical life, a health situation, whatever Taurus is in your chart for you personally, well, that didn't really change all that much. This is where you see, oh yes it did. Yes it did. In the next 3 months you're gonna see it, where your virtues and everything you did right, everything you upgraded within you, within your heart, within your values, within your customs, traditions, are gonna matter so much because they're gonna support you, propulse you, and of course get you all the right kind of people as well. Because, basically Aries reflects on Libra. Oh, yes, and at the very end of the week, actually not even, as soon as Jupiter enters into the sign of Aries, so the 22nd, Jupiter will be opposing Ceres in Libra. 0, 0. This is also very, very relevant. Now, on the world stage, this can represent a small moment of food shortages, or due to either transport or some error or some strike, protest. So transport is gonna be blocked due to legal reasons, but legal reasons as in, as I said, strike, protest, syndicate, or paperwork going wrong, something like that. But this can also represent Ceres in the sign of Libra. Well, the price of food. How moral, just, fair, equitable is it? Price of anything. Is it just? Is it not just? This is where the ombudsmans of nations are really gonna be working hard. If you're an ombudsman or working in the institution of the ombudsman, I won't envy you. But you will make history. So if you work in the legal domain and have a heart open to the divine, of course, not if you're a corrupted, then you're gonna write history. Because this is series about food, what justice means food-wise, what justice means equal resources for everyone-wise. Whatever Jupiter and Ceres will initiate legally at this time is gonna write history in courts of justice all over the world. So that's so interesting as well. And under this solstice, so in the next this winter period until, when the sun enters Aries, it's gonna be very, very important and intense. And after the sun enters Aries, it will continue because Aries, time for action. Astrological new year. Let's, yeah. And also, Ceres, in the sign of Libra, what balance means big and delicate choices, but you making it. You making big, 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 big moves, and finally not looking ever back. Whatever you choose, there is no right or wrong. It has to, Ceres in Libra, it has to support you. So yeah. And this will mean leaving people behind. Leaving people, places, things, situations, emotions, modus vivendi, old behind. And for some people it means like going a little bit nomadic, trying out something so new that it just shakes up their life. When I say nomadic, not in a bad way, of course. Just being free and living life each day as it is, without caring about everything else, only but more like a Buddhist or hippie or Rastafarian way of living life. For some people, and especially if you're atypical to that, that can be like a saving grace. That can be like a beginning of a new life, an eye-opener, a reformatting of a very powerful healing energy. Anyway, enough about series. So, yeah, immediately the sun will hold the square with Jupiter, but from Capricorn, Aries, so yeah. And as I said, the zero is world stage. Big something is gonna be revealed. And then Ixion, the dwarf planet. So I think a head of a state or some big corruption is gonna be there and opposed. And in the court of justice, someone's gonna be sentenced. So, and in mythology, Jupiter and Ixion do have a highly conflictual relationship. So, astrologically, Ixion is the stronger energy, but mythologically, definitely not. Because Jupiter truly slapped Ixion onto the abyss for his wrongdoings. And actually, speaking about the legend of Ixion and Jupiter, Jupiter's wife, who Ixion ultimately aggressed, speaks in a conversation of supreme harmony with Pallas Athena, a trine. And she also is conjunct Neptune at the solstice. And that is wonderful. That is truly amazing, because it is like an amazing benevolent energy. Because Juno is partnership. Juno is someone who can elevate you. Juno in the sign of Pisces conjunct Jupiter, well, it can mean help from, and I'm very serious, this is not symbolic, from guardian angels or benevolent guardian or whatever entities, or even totem, but in a real way, as in proper, like not symbolic, proper. For some people, proper. But this can also be a representative of the spiritual world. Priest, therapist, cleric, astrologer, whatever. Who has a conversation with you and it makes you feel like you're reborn. They reflect something divine back at you and it changes you. Series, it nurtures you, but in such a way where there and then your life changed due to a meeting with that person. It can also be a parent. A parent, a family member, or someone from the distant past, relevant of course, finally does something wonderful, because and your life changes due to that. Or it can be like, this doesn't necessarily represent a new romantic relationship, in the new sense, but it can represent an old wish of yours. And if it's like an old unlived satisfaction, old unlived dream, that in that sense it can be new. But more commonly, I would say that it is an old love returning, an old friendship, relationship, connection that was separated because of I don't know what, can finally come. and that blesses your life, or blesses that comes as a blessing. So something does return to you from the past as a blessing, or it can be a help, a support, because Juno is very, very beneficial when she is in the mood. Let's say, you know, Hera, she as in, she was very controversial, actually. She had an infinitely cruel side. She had a highly jealous side. But she also had a very, very merciful, because she was also a mother after all. And many times perhaps Jupiter was not the sole author of his very own good deeds. Sometimes it was Hera's manipulation, support, or sometimes Jupiter was stopped in his destructive actions, not by his own wisdom and good judgment, but rather his wife's. So, Juno is important. And the husband just left his sign, Pisces. Juno still remains. And that means something. It means that she's, cleaning up after Jupiter, adding the finishing touches, apologizing, rectifying the husband's masculine type of work, like a good wife does. And, um, Vesta is also there. Sacred passion, divine passion. When I say sacred passion, not the kinky kind, but the, as it would be depicted in Christianity kind. So the most elevated passion of like the Christ or the Virgin Mother and stuff like that. That is going to be very, very present in the world, in our lives. And moving on the 23rd, we have Capricorn New Moon. I have a separate video about that. You can check it out if you want. So the new moon, how relevant, how symbolic, how suggestive. It has a touch of dark side as well, of course. But no, this is where it will initiate something important for us personally, for, all of us collectively, globally. It's going to be a very, very strong initiatory energy, but we must make sure not to overdo it with Jupiter's assertive empowerment in Aries. And, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Pallas Athena also is going to be opposing Mercury. And that's not a bad thing. This is where Pallas Athena in Cancer, obviously, retrograde. Our own emotional patterns. The way I always used to. There is the situation, right? It triggers me. This is how I feel. I know myself. Self-knowledge. Yeah, but what about if I choose not to actually behave all that typically me? This doesn't mean to go against myself, but to have a kind of measure and discipline over my own behavior reaction. Especially in thought, Mercury, in Capricorn, in thought, not to think necessarily this way, that way, not to take it personally, etc., etc. Sometimes to take it personally. There's that joke about you and it keeps recurring and recurring, and when your inside doesn't laugh, of course, don't accept it, say it. Let's stop here, okay, because it's making me feel uncomfortable. Introverts will never do this. As I said, opposing Mercury, Pallas Athena opposing Mercury. Sometimes it's healthy. So yeah, change your own tactics, revise your own tactics, especially emotionally. And yeah, the new moon conjunct also Ixion. Something surprises are gonna be revealed. But going back to Pallas Athena trining Juno, and Juno being conjunct Neptune, well, you can imagine that this is wonderful for artists, for spiritualists, for creative people. Music is gonna be skyrocketing, arts, festival of light, if that even makes sense, creativity, handmade. This is gonna be like really wonderful presents this Christmas, where the presents tend to be not physical. This Christmas might be all about the gestures, but when people get out of their way to make the gesture, they truly pump so much spirit into the gesture that the physical part of any gift would just fade away, you know? And, you know, because of the Black Moon Lilith and Pluto opposition, big brands are not gonna do well. So perhaps investing in a big brand, or the brand itself being the symbol of your love, trust, whatever, might go bad this Christmas. So yeah. Anyway, this doesn't really matter to anyone. But where I want to go with this, the Christ consciousness, the true meaning of Christmas, communion, generosity, and all of the special stuff, you know, because of the asteroids, trines, Juno, Pallas Athena, and then Ceres making key connections, and Jupiter expanding Ceres. Ceres says, cry out for, you know, justice, because equal resources, decency, minimal decency, and equity for everyone equally. You can imagine that those will truly make this Christmas kind of special and spiritually intense, when the Christ consciousness, and as I said, perhaps the spirit of Christmas, however that may be perceived by us personally, is gonna be very unmistakably present in our lives and surrounding us, the Piscean way, as a mist of benevolence, as an ocean of kindness, as a, let's say, river of understanding and wanting to make a difference in other people's lives, that Jupiter in Aries adding the flavor to it. So, as I said, I do believe that this Christmas is gonna be kind of blessed anyway, so I wish everyone to enjoy it. I wish everyone to be truly kind to yourselves and to appreciate everyone in your lives, your family, and especially all the small gestures that, you know, your partner does for you. The warm tea or the sandwich or everything. This is the period to truly put our appreciations into the the tiniest small things. North Node in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. So yeah, when the little things and the small gestures and the true expression of one's physical loyalty and devotion, that is the small things, by the way, so are gonna matter so very much, and they're gonna truly bless this Christmas. And don't let Pluto and Lilith's battle upset things for you. So thank you so very much for staying with me all through the year. Thank you for all the love, all the support. Thank you for, blessing my life, all this year, a year which could have been extraordinary lonely without you guys. So thank you everyone for your help and your support, and for, somehow convincing me to survive another year. So until next time, bye for now.